but let me share with you a couple things. I'm on two committees, for those of you who may not be aware of this. I'm on natural resources, which, as the name implies, literally deals with anything in our country that is a natural resource, be it our federal lands or national parks or forests or mines or offshore drilling. Anything along those lines comes under jurisdiction of natural resources. The second committee I'm on is called OGR, stands for Oversight and Government Reform. That is the committee that literally, if there is any agency or department, anything in our federal government where there is waste, fraud, abuse, scandal, inefficiency, anything along those lines, it comes under the jurisdiction of Oversight and Government Reform. And that committee has been unbelievably busy the last year and a half, as you can well imagine. And then I'm on a couple of subcommittees in both of those, but those are the two major committees that I'm representing you in DC. Now, OGR, Oversight and Government Reform, you're not hearing this on the news, but you know, we always hear nothing's happening in Washington and blah, blah, blah. And certainly it is very difficult to move the needle up there. Legislatively, trying the energy and the work. I found out real early, as a member of Congress, I am less than 1/4 of 1%. Okay? And that is not real good odds when you're trying to move the needle. So if you are trying to get things happening, the only way to do so is to build a coalition, a strong coalition of other like-minded people around an issue. It just takes enormous energy and effort to try to get something on the floor of the House, is what I'm trying to communicate to you. And then for it to pass is just a huge deal. But then it goes to the Senate, and the process starts all over, and you have no control whatsoever as to what happens in the Senate with it. And right now, of course, the Senate is struggling to get much of anything done. But if a bill passes the Senate, it then has to have the president's signature. So it is extremely difficult to move the needle through the legislative process. But we do it, you know, we push on those things, and we're working hard, and have seen a little bit of success on some things that I'll be happy to share with you. But one of the satisfying things in this first term for me has been some of the success that we've seen in our committee work. For example, in OGR, Oversight and Government Reform, we have had, and these numbers are low, well, I'm sure it's a little bit higher than this right now, but my last count that I can confirm, we have asked for the removal of office position of 21 different heads of various departments and agencies because of the corruption and abuse and scandals and all this kind of stuff. We've asked for 21 of them to be removed or to resign. We have succeeded in having 19 out of 21 go. And that's pretty phenomenal. That's stuff you don't hear in the news.
It doesn't include the VA.
We have not gotten the VA yet. We've had some great hearings with the VA, and we're seeing some changes in the VA as a result. But 19 out of 21 is pretty good. You can't deal with the root problem of scandalous behavior if you don't deal with the head. That's where the buck stops there. Now, one of the two that we have not yet succeeded in is John Koskinen, is the head of the IRS. Y'all remember the IRS targeting individual citizens of this country who have a different political view? It just is inexcusable for that kind of thing to be taking place. The Lois Lerner email scandal, all that sort of stuff. John Koskinen was brought in to head up the IRS to clean up that mess. And quite frankly, he has done absolutely the opposite. Koskinen has been a major contributor to continuing that whole environment, culture of aggression and hostility towards political opponents. And so we've asked him to resign his position, and quite frankly, he arrogantly refused. So we petitioned the president. We asked the president to remove him, and the president refused to do anything about it. So as a committee, we decided to take our next and last option, and that was to file articles of impeachment against Koskinen. We filed those, and there have been hearings in that regard already. That ball is moving forward. In fact, right before coming for the August work month, we had a privilege motion filed, which means that when we go back in September, within 2 legislative days, there has to be a vote on the House floor regarding the impeachment of Koskinen. So we are still trying to deal with him. He is a major problem that needs to go. And of course, if we get it done in the House, if we're still, we know the Senate has to do their job, but at least we're trying to do all we can to deal with problems as we can. So those are the committees I'm on. You probably saw, at least some of you probably saw, that's the committee that recently dealt with the FBI Director Director Comey, and the whole issue with the emails, the scandal with Secretary Clinton and all that stuff, and the FBI not pursuing recommendation for prosecution. So all of that was a very, very high profile case that we dealt with that hearing as well. Now there's a lot obviously going on in DC, and I tell people frequently, and I mean it from the depths of my heart, we're in the fight of our life for our country, and these are very important days, and I just appreciate you so much taking time to be here and come out and talk. Y'all, we're in this thing together. This is our country. It's our turf, and it's we the people. When the light came on in my heart to understand that our system of government does not work without involvement from the people, that's when I began to understand I can't just sit back and do nothing. Our system only works when we the people step up the plate and get involved with it. And so I thank you for having that understanding, and I know you do, or you wouldn't be here.